If there's one thing I've come to notice recently, it's that I really suck at following up on series I have covered in prior videos. I mean, while I think I have done a good job in covering a variety of Netflix shows, for instance, I kind of have this bad habit of forgetting to go back when a new season is out. Well, it might not be that big of a deal, I would still like to fix this, and so what better place to begin than with a show that just had its second season this past week. You've seen the title, and you know I'm talking about Castlevania, so without further ado, let's jump right in. So for anyone who needs a quick recap, the last season of Castlevania was made up of 4 episodes and follows a story inspired by the game Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Starting off in Wallachia in 1475, we see Dracula's human wife, Lisa, burned at the stake after being falsely accused of witchcraft, and an enraged Dracula declares all the people of Wallachia will pay with their lives. Though reluctant at first, Trevor Belmont, a monster hunter and the last of the Belmont clan, takes up arms against Dracula's forces, and together with a magician named Sypha and Dracula's son Alucard, sets off to bring an end to Dracula's vengeful rampage. Picking up where the last season left off, we follow Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard as they do their best to not only survive the various horrors Dracula has unleashed upon Wallachia, but try to find a way to reach his ever-moving castle in order to defeat him as well. However, while the trio's dangerous quest is still very much a focus of the show, this time around there's also an emphasis on Dracula, his army of vampire generals, and 2 humans named Isaac and Hector, who serve as Dracula's personal Devil Forge masters. It is here that things get a bit tricky to describe, as I don't want to spoil anything that goes down, but let's just say that not everyone is quite happy with Dracula's approach to eradicating humanity, leading to a really interesting Game of Thrones-esque story with vampires. Though there is some plotting and betrayals along the way, by the end the forces of good and evil do indeed meet in an ultimate clash. Now, when it comes to things I think the show does well this season, there are quite a few. One thing I want to give the show credit for is how it successfully continues to bring the game series to life. From the characters to the locations and even the references, I feel like a really good job is done in adapting and expanding the game content in a way that feels true to the source material. For instance, the fact that Trevor discusses his family line and we see a portrait of one of his ancestors is a great nod at the series' continuity, and Trevor finding the weapon known as the Morning Star is a cool callback to an upgrade found in the games. On the other side of that, I'm equally impressed with the things that have been changed. For instance, one big difference is that Isaac, who's portrayed as light-skinned with red hair in the games, is shown here as bald and dark-skinned. While it seems a bit strange at first to totally redesign a character, I think it's a pretty good redesign compared to his edgelord counterpart, and his backstory about being a former slave who holds contempt for the way humanity has treated him is much more interesting. Though the show plays around with things in this manner, choosing to change up some characters' roles or make them go in a different direction from what we see in the games, the fact that it was able to make it all work in a cohesive way really impressed me. Another thing that really impressed me was how the series handled their portrayal of Dracula. While the previous season definitely focused a bit on Dracula, especially in the first episode in which we see him dealing with Lisa's death, this season really dives into showing us more about the man behind the monster. While we have moments where he's outright fierce and keeping his fellow vampires in line, we also have moments where he just looks defeated, and his conversations really display some deep melancholy. Once again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a moment near the end of the season that I absolutely love, due to how it shows us that underneath all the contempt for humanity, there's still a lonely man who is heartbroken by his wife's untimely death, and does truly love his son. Finally, I feel it worth mentioning that the way the show continues to balance its dark subject matter and more lighthearted or comedic moments is really well done. While the show can be downright bleak with all the horrific creatures running around trying to destroy humanity, and how all these people keep dying left and right, there's still stuff to make you laugh or at least provide some moments of levity. I mean, whether it's Trevor and Alucard engaging in immature bickering, Sypha wondering what's up with all those penis spells in the Belmont library, or Godbrand the Viking vampire showing enthusiasm for boats, there are quite a few genuinely funny moments throughout the season. Moving on to stuff the show does that I didn't like, I guess the one thing that was a really big deal for me was the lack of the 4th party member. For anyone that might not know, in the original game, when Trevor and company go off to defeat Dracula, it's not a 3-man team that does the deed, but 4 people, including a noble thief named Grant Dynasty. While I get that the series changed some things, I find it very odd that Grant was omitted, and I think it's quite unfair that he didn't appear whatsoever. I mean, at the very least, they could have made some sort of a reference or something to such an important character. Still, That aside, I'm glad to see the show come back, and I think that it had a pretty solid second season. While it may not be perfect, I still feel that it does the games justice, and it's probably one of the best adaptations out there. Not only that, but with there being a third season already greenlit, I'm excited to see where the series goes. If you enjoyed the first season, or simply want to watch a good show with superb writing, action, and characters, then I think you will enjoy it. But hey, that's just my opinion. And remember, don't take anything I say too seriously. After all, I'm just a wannabe reviewer. Thanks for watching.